deities on the altar. I mean, who's with me in saying like that the deities look very beautiful today? I mean, who made these garlands? And I can see the love and the affection the devotees put into serving Krishna. That is the goal. That is the goal of this temple, and it's the goal of this movement. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada's movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement. The goal is that the living entity, you and I, that we are waking up. We come to our senses, and that we realize that we are not alone. Obviously, he's not alone, but not alone in a greater sense. That this universe is not just happened by chance. Sometimes they try to tell us, especially in school, there was a big bang, and then suddenly all this beautiful, creation was there. So there's meaning behind everything, and as we know from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual worlds. So the ABC of the Bhagavad Gita, which is such a good book to study, it's really a good book to have in your pocket every single day. There's a pocket Bhagavad Gita if you want to take one. There's so many wonderful verses in the Bhagavad Gita, giving so many cool instructions. One of the reasons I came to Krishna was through the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, because I remember, and you might also remember, we all come from ignorance, more or less. We're born into ignorance. We're born when we are small little children, like small little babies, just coming out of the womb from our mothers. We're pretty much ignorant. We don't know how to walk. We don't know how to speak. We don't know anything. We don't know how to eat. We need to learn everything. We are born into an ignorant state of consciousness. Now we have developed a little bit, and every one of you is going to say, like, yeah, but I have intelligence, and this is coming through over life. When you're actually living your life, it's a natural progression that you become conscious. But we were born into ignorance. So born into ignorance is not a cool thing. We need to learn. We need to understand. We need to understand who are we and what is our position in this world. And Bhagavad Gita gives a good guidance in that direction. So one of the reasons I really started to read further in this book was the second chapter. When I was reading the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, suddenly everything made sense, because when I was young, I saw a lot of people just leaving, means dying. Very close family members also, and they died, and no one could give me an answer. No one could give like a proper, let's say, answer to this question. What happens to those people? What happens to my grandfather? What happens to my grandmother? You see, with your own eyes, they go. They loved you so much, they cared for you so much, but then suddenly they go. What happens? So there's a bit of an ignorant state of belief system, you could say, in the material world. And so the Bhagavad Gita was dispersing that a little bit. It showed me, okay, there is a difference between matter and spirit. That was the first thing which I felt like interesting. There's a difference between matter and spirit, which means there's a difference between consciousness and our body. We're so much attached to this body. Every one of us, you can check yourself how often you look into the mirror and look how nice in the hair. I don't have to do hair anymore, but I have other things that are looking like, okay, like a belly or something. We attach very much to our body, but we're not the body. That's one thing I feel like when Prabhupada started to preach and I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, it really hit me. He was saying we're not this body, but how are we not this body? He gave examples. He was saying, okay, look at yourself. You've been a baby, and then you grew up a little, you grew a little older, and then you went to school. You went to kindergarten, then you went to school, then you went to university, and then you started working, and now suddenly you're almost 50 or 60. And your body changes all the time. But our consciousness is there. We can remember when we see pictures when I was 10 or so. I recently found a picture of me and my sister when I was maybe 10 and she was 14 with our mom together. I was like, wow, that's like really interesting because it was such a long time ago. But I remember where we were at that point when the photo was taken. So the body is completely different from this body. The body on that picture is completely different from this body, as science also tells us. Every 7 years or so, all the cells are changing, and so the body is changing, but our consciousness stays the same. So that is the let's say that's the basic understanding we need to move on or to move further into this whole understanding about Krishna. that consciousness is part and parcel of Krishna. So the whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives a lot of teachings to Arjuna. He tells him what the difference between the soul and the body is. He tells him how to act in this world. He tells him how to do yoga. He tells him how to control his mind. Right? So the first couple of chapters are like this. 6th chapter, he says, like, if you really control, your mind is the best friend if you can control it. If you cannot control your mind, it's going to be your worst enemy. He's going to be horrible to you. You know, he's going to drag you down into horrible things. So he's teaching Arjuna a lot of cool things, and then he comes to the middle chapters, it's like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 middle chapters, where he's explaining bhakti more in depth. He's explaining actually his real teachings. You know, when you have something valuable, you put it somewhere in the middle. You know, like if you have something you want to hide, you put it somewhere in the book in the middle, and then you hide it there. So like this. So Krishna hid the beauty of this knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. And then he goes on, he explains bhakti in so many beautiful verses and ways, which are actually inspiring. If you go into it and you read it, and you really dissect it, you really go into, like, what does that mean for me? Okay, there is Arjuna and there's Krishna, they're on the battlefield and there's a fight going on, and they're speaking some philosophy, but how does it relate to me? You know, like, this is where you have to switch on your intelligence, because we are human beings. We're supposed to be human beings, and human beings have that capacity to understand philosophy. I love animals, and I love cows and horses, but you cannot have a philosophical conversation with cows. There's a little bit of a cow pasturing ground. When I go to work, there's some pasturing ground. There's some cows. Sometimes I stop, and sometimes I sing to them. So I just sing them a mantra, and they come, they look like, they're like, who is this guy? Well, if I would say, like, let's talk about Bhagavad Gita, they're just going to run away after 5 minutes. But we human beings, we can switch on our intelligence, and we can try to understand what is actually being spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. What's being spoken? What is the aim? What is the goal of all the teachings? And then so Krishna is teaching the Bhagavad Gita, and then he finally comes to a conclusion. Does anyone know what the conclusion is of Bhagavad Gita? What verse? There's one verse.
18.66.
Yeah, which one is it? Say it loud. No, louder, they don't hear you. You have to say it loud, no one's hearing you. So he's speaking Sanskrit now. Say it louder. Yeah, give him the mic. That's good. So please say it.
It's Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksheshyami Ma Shucha.
Yes. So in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, there's 2 verses where Krishna is giving a conclusion for all this, because we want to move on, because we want to talk a little bit about the Ratha Yatra. I want us to understand these principles. So there's 2 verses, 65 and 66 in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, after all the teachings, control your mind, be like, when you act in this material, be conscious, and he gives a lot of teaching, all these different things. But in the end, he says, like, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you're my very dear friend. This is such an important point here, because you're my very dear friend. We are part and parcel of Krishna. This is another verse of the Bhagavad Gita that says, Mame Vangsa Jivalakeda. Jivas, conscious bits and pieces of consciousness which are spread everywhere in the universe. They are my parts. They emanate from me. Like, we are part and parcel of Krishna. And because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we are his friends. This is such an amazing point. Sometimes we have that little thing with God, where like God is somewhere there and we feel not worthy, and we have all these different wrong conceptions, but actually the fact is that Krishna is our friend. And that's important to know, because he wants the best for us. So all his teachings and all his encouragements he gives through the ages and through the teachings and through the, through his teachings and through the mouths of the stages, through the ages, is only there to encourage us to see that we're actually having a very loving, kind friend, an eternal friend. That's another point which I always like to ponder on. When I'm in difficulties, I'm always think this comes up. Okay, this relationship with Krishna is eternal. All the other relationships, they're not eternal, they're temporary. So that one relationship we have, where he comes to us, he comes into the material world, he speaks Bhagavad Gita to give us knowledge. He basically tells us, hello, here I am. And when we get into this relationship with Krishna, that is an eternal affair. It was always eternal, it is eternal, and will be eternal. We might have forgotten that it is eternal, somehow, through ignorance. And through maybe we put our backs on Krishna, it's like, yeah, let me do it my own way. And Krishna is very kind, says, okay, do. But he's helping us to always understand the right thing. So that these two verses, and then the verse Prabhupada said, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I'm your friend, just surrender unto me. And not through a religious system. Because religion is mostly man-made. And if you look at religious systems, you can change, isn't it? The Hindu can become a Muslim become a Christian, they change on the surface. Okay, now I'm this, now I'm that. But what we cannot change, there's one thing which we cannot change, it's called Sanatana Dharma, our eternal nature. We cannot change our eternal nature. And that is, someone knows? What's our eternal nature?
Satchidananda.
Yes. You're like, you should give class. He knows all the verses. Say again, say loud.
Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityadas.
Yes, we are eternal servants of Krishna. Because we are eternal servants of Krishna, look in our lives. This is another point that we can ponder on. Every single day we're serving someone. You know, we have children, we have dependents, we have bosses we go to, we're servants. We have an inherent nature which is made out of service. So we are servants, basically. Right? So he says, surrender unto me, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. Again, I'm your friend, do not fear. Cool instructions. I mean, that should give us some peace, isn't it? He says like, hey, I'm your friend and don't fear, I take care of you. He says over and over in the Bhagavad Gita, someone who surrenders, I preserve what you lack and I give, I preserve what you lack and I will give you what you need, right? Now I preserve what you have and I will give what you need. So that is Krishna, right? So now how are we going to do this? How are we going to surrender? How are we going to, okay, how do I surrender and how do I kind of become a friend with Krishna? So the end of the Bhagavad Gita is this instruction: become conscious of me, become my devotee, and serve me. Become aware of who you really are, on your deepest nature. And then, what would be the next scripture we would go to after we read Bhagavad Gita?
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Srimad Bhagavatam. So who has read Srimad Bhagavatam? A few in the room. So then the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a study, lifelong study, I can only invite you to do it. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will also see a lot of philosophical points why Krishna is supreme. Because someone could come and say, why Krishna? Why not Shiva or someone else? So in the Bhagavatam is actually very clearly stated why Krishna is actually the one who can say, I'm your friend, I'm your eternal father, I'm your eternal mother, I'm God. He doesn't say it that much, but he's in the Bhagavatam you will actually see through the stories of the sages, through the different ages, how they surrendered to Krishna. It's a beautiful, beautiful, long story. And what is the conclusion? I'm rushing a little bit. What's the conclusion of the Bhagavatam? Because now we heard the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, become a devotee. Then we see all the sages and all the the demigods even and all the bhaktas who surrender to Krishna, how they do it, how they fail, and over lifetimes they struggle, they stumble, and in the next life they come closer to Krishna, and Krishna is calling them again and again and again. He gives this encouragement through those stories that you should walk this path, and it's not an easy path. It's not that, okay, now I understand Krishna is God and tomorrow I will be in the spiritual world. It's a struggle because it is about reality, it's about real love. We have to come up with our heart. We have to show our heart to say, Krishna, here I am. So he shows in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he shows how to do that. It's a very interesting thing. And then, so there's 12 cantos, and the last canto 12th canto, the last verse, again, the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, it's stated, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances to whom relieves material suffering. So here is an interesting point. That's the next level. The next level comes in the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam raises our consciousness and our understanding about God to the next level. Yes, we are a part and parcel of Krishna. Yes, he is our best friend. Yes, we should surrender. He showed us how to do it in the Bhagavatam, and how he is also in the Bhagavatam. 10th canto of the Bhagavatam is all about Krishna. You know, we all know all these stories. You know, how he lifted Govardhan Hill, how he was dancing with the gopis, you know, how he killed all the demons. So we get to know Krishna a little bit. We get to know who he really is. It's not just a concept anymore. Okay, God, somewhere there on the clouds, somewhere, you know, he's like an old person. No, it becomes very clear who he is. He plays the flute. He likes to live in Vrindavan. He has friends. You know, he has very intimate friends. You know, and he lives there eternally. And he actually is calling us to come there. That is the point. That's the next point. But how does he call us there? How do we get there? How do we get to Vrindavan? Because he's calling us. Surrender unto me, come to me. I'm your best friend. How are we doing it? What is the method to reach him? What is his number? His number is, what this verse says, all glories to the chanting of the holy names. Now Krishna comes again as Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, he comes again to teach us this principle. He comes for two reasons. First reason is to teach us this principle that the connection to Krishna is very simple. In the Kali Yuga, in this age we're living right now, it's a very simple process. I was just listening to two classes of Prabhupada. He said, in both classes, he said, Krishna is very cheap. I was actually surprised Prabhupada said that. But he said, Krishna is very cheap. Actually, he's not cheap, but he says, to reach him, it's very easy. That's what he says. Means, if you just follow some preliminary principles, like for example, no meat eating, right? So the four regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. If you follow those four principles, it's very easy to reach Krishna. So meaning, like, what does that mean? That means like you drag yourself out from this material concept of life, and then you take your consciousness and you shift it towards Krishna more and more and more by hearing and chanting. So he says, the Bhagavatam says, all glories to the holy name, because that's the way. It's the end of the Bhagavatam, and points towards this principle of kirtan, which Lord Chaitanya brought. So as Lord Chaitanya came 5,000 years ago, for those who don't know, Lord Chaitanya is also Krishna in a very hidden incarnation. It's a very hidden incarnation. But he brings a very interesting gift, a very powerful gift. He brings the holy name to everyone. That's the first mission, why he appears again in this world. After he spoke Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago, he comes again. And he has another kind of teaching. What is that teaching? That teaching is like, how do you chant the holy name of the Lord? Because that is the process for this age. He teaches us how to chant the holy name. What is the deeper meaning of chanting the Mahamantra? That's why we're so fun. Whenever you come to a Hare Krishna temple, there will be kirtan somewhere. Nowadays, more and more and more. It's growing and growing and growing. You know? And we all have a little bit of an experience what that actually means and what it does with our soul if we actually apply it. So that's the external reason. The external reason is to give everyone mercy. Here, take the mercy. You want to come to me? This is the way. Chant my names. That's all you need to do. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. You can do it individually, and you can do it congregationally. These two things, very powerful. Hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, coming together, and enlightening each other about Krishna. That's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita as well. He likes that. Devotees come together to enlighten each other about this principle. So that's the external reason. To reclaim all the conditioned souls. Come home. Come. Wake up. Chief Jago. Wake up. Soul, wake up and see what's reality. See your own, understand your own relationship with me. And come home. Through the process of the change. That's the external reason. But there's an internal reason as well. Because Krishna, the more you get to know about Krishna, the more mysterious it becomes. Krishna as a person, that's the first thing we need to understand. Krishna as a personality, like you are a person. In this lecture, I was just listening this morning, Prabhupada would say, whatever we see in this world, whatever we have, that is because Krishna has it. So we are personalities, we are individuals. We all have an individual opinion. If I ask you about anything in this world, in this room, how many are we, like with 30, 40 people? There would be 40 different opinions. Why? Because we're individuals. Everyone is different. That's a beautiful thing as well. We're all different and we all have our own individuality. So now Krishna comes also for an internal reason. The external reason is to reclaim us. The internal reason is he wants to feel, he also wants to enjoy, he wants to see how it is. He asks himself the question he cannot answer himself. He's asking himself, why do my devotees worship me the way they do? What is going on in their hearts? This is the internal reason. He comes as Lord Chaitanya in a form as a devotee. So Krishna comes, and he's actually merging, and that's the verse I wanted to read with you from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because after the Bhagavatam we talk about the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then there you have, at the very beginning, you have very beautiful verses. And it's the fourth verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, basically the story of Lord Chaitanya. So that's the fourth verse. It says, "May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachidevi, Lord Chaitanya, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart." It's a blessing. The writer of this book gives every one of us a blessing who reads this book. Everyone who reads this book. It's so beautiful. He says, "May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachidevi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chamber of your heart." Means like, may God be in your heart. May God finally be there. He is there, but that you realize it, that He's in your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, He has appeared in the age of Kali by His causeless mercy. So He comes again in the Kali Yuga. Krishna always comes, and Kali Yuga comes because of His causeless mercy, to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So that's a very intimate verse. But Krishna is intimate. Krishna is not playing around. He does, but he's also very serious. Krishna wants to experience the highest pinnacles of love. Obviously, he's God. Of course he will. We all have this thing. We're all attracted to the opposite sex, right? We all have a little bit of attraction to each other. So on the highest platform, Krishna also has it in himself. He has that capacity to be attracted by someone. And what's that attraction? What does that mean? That means you want to be in love. He wants to be in love. Now Krishna has a very deep heart. But at this point, it's very difficult for him to understand. Why do my devotees love me so much? And in order to understand that, how does a devotee love me? He needs to really, really go into someone's heart. So what he is actually doing, what Krishna is doing, he's going into the heart of a very close devotee, Srimati Radharani. He enters her heart by some means. He goes very deep into her heart. And now finally, in that form, as Lord Chaitanya, he can finally feel how a devotee feels. He can finally feel how a devotee is actually worshiping him. And he starts to cry. The story of Lord Chaitanya is one of despair. He's rubbing his head against the wall sometimes because he feels now how his dearmost devotee, Srimati Radharani, feels when he's not there. Separation, mood of separation. He goes very deep. He wants to understand, but he was not prepared. He was actually not prepared what actually comes. Was he? Huh? He was not prepared because he didn't know. He didn't know how much. He didn't know the suffering of Srimati Radharani when Krishna is not there. So it says here, the loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, Radha and Krishna are actually one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. There you have something. this is a good example of what transcendence means. They're actually one, but they're eternally two. So Radha and Krishna, Radharani, maybe just to say it, to explain it a little bit. So Krishna has many energies. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Everything emanates from him, and he has different energies. So the his innermost heart energy is called Ladini Shakti. If that becomes a person, that is Radharani. So his capacity to love, his love energy, becomes a person, and that is Radharani. So as in the highest platform, can you imagine God's capacity to love becomes a person. So these two, Radha and Krishna, are actually one in their identity, but they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Caitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya comes to give us blessings, to give us mercy, to show us the way. How do we get out of this material world? How do we re-establish our friendship with Krishna? But at the same time, he comes to understand Radharani's heart. And that is the Leela of Lord Chaitanya. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will at one point come to the Ratha Yatra Festival. There's a Ratha Yatra Festival going on. If you read this, there's so much depth in this Leela, where just really imagine that Krishna is there, and he, for the first time in his existence, he feels himself the love of someone else, and that makes him crazy. So when he comes and does the Ratha Yatra Festival, he's in different moods, because Ratha Yatra, we have the Ratha Yatra is a festival which has been held in India for like centuries, and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And you have Jagannath coming out, and you have Baladev coming out, and you have Subhadra coming out. Anyone has been to a Ratha Yatra Festival in Puri? In Berlin? In Berlin, a few. Okay, so you have Jagannath, you have Baladev, and you have Subhadra, and they're being pulled through the street. So who is Jagannath? Who's Jagannath? We need to understand that Leela, in that Leela where Lord Chaitanya is playing, or in that Leela of the Ratha Yatra, there is a dynamic going on between Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath. But Jagannath is Krishna as well. Jagannath is Krishna. He just heard the stories of the gopis. He just heard about his childhood pastimes, and that's why he got so stunned. It's like, oh wow, the gopis. And he gets like in this form of Mahabhav. And he remembers the loving affairs when he was young in Vrindavan. Now Lord Chaitanya is there, and he looks at Lord Jagannath, and then he feels for the first time how Radharani feels when she sees Krishna. That's the inner meaning of the Ratha Yatra. That's the most intimate meaning, and it's very intimate. But we have to talk about it. We have philosophy, but we also should understand what's the goal. So we're talking a little bit about the goal. So Lord Chaitanya stands there in front of Jagannath, so Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the heart of Radharani, and he feels how Radharani feels when she sees Krishna. So he can feel, oh, Radharani loves me that much. I didn't know. When she sees me, and she sees my big eyes, and she sees my beauty and my strength, she feels in a certain way, and he can feel how she feels, and that he faints. He faints. Krishna, God himself, faints because he cannot bear it himself how deep that love is. That is the inner meaning of the Ratha Yatra. It's really, really nice, and we are all. And if you think about it, it's held on the street. This festival is held on the street, and we are all invited to take part. We're all invited to take part. In one part, yes. We're going to go out, we're going to be like, yeah, Haribo, Hare Krishna, and everyone is dancing and chanting, and we want to give out the mercy like Lord Chaitanya wants to do it. Everyone should get the mercy, and we sing and we dance and we chant, we're happy, right? Because we're reconnected with Krishna. And we do some service because that pleases him. If we do some intimate kind of seva chanting. But at the same time, you can go into your own understanding and think like, wow, in that Leela, the Lord himself, he faints and he falls onto the ground because he himself feels for the first time how deep the love of Radharani is, of his highest bhakta, of his highest devotee. why does Krishna do that? Why does Krishna go through such length and create such leelas that you have like Ratha Yatra Festival, and then he falls into the ground, and many bystanders, many people who were there, who could see the scenes, they couldn't understand what was going on. Just a few verses in this chapter where it says only really pure devotees could understand what's going on. But it's explained to us. We can understand what's going on. Why does he do it? Why does Krishna go to such length to and then he falls into ecstasy, and he's completely helpless. He brings himself into a situation where he's completely helpless. Why does God do that? Again, it's very intimate, but I think it's good to talk about it. Anyone knows the answer to this? What I'm about to say is maybe shocking, but it's not coming from me. It's not coming from me. It's coming from Govinda Swami. He wrote this beautiful book, Embankment of Separation. He says, in the very beginning of this book, he says, because Krishna is greedy. Krishna is greedy. We all have greed. Look at yourself in the mirror. You will see there's some greed. We are greedy of the stuff. Why is there greed in us? Because it's in Krishna originally. So Krishna is greedy. He's greedy for love, and more love, and more love. And it's a very, very beautiful description in that book by Govinda Swami. It's called Embankment of Separation. And he goes through all the different avatars, and he explains how Krishna becomes more greedy for love and connection. And he finally comes to one incarnation of Krishna where you have the Nishingadev Lila, where Krishna in his incarnation for the first time, there's these Dash avatars. So one of the Dash avatars is the Nishingadev Lila. So for the first time, he feels a type of love which he didn't know before, and that's Vatsalya Ras. Because in that Leela, when he appears from the pillar, and then there's Prahlad Maharaj and this whole scene, this whole ghastly scene of killing Hiranyakashipu is over, Prahlad Maharaj is going to be sitting on his lap, right? That's the end scene. Like everyone is like, the demigods don't want to speak to him because he's so furious, but somehow other Prahlad, he's like, hey, please, and he's praying, and he's giving prayers to Lord Nishingadev, and Lord Nishingadev finally sits down, and then when he sits down, Prahlad Maharaj sits on his lap, and in that moment, he has that feeling of Vatsalya Ras. We're talking about rasa here as well. He feels like a certain type of love. Oh wow. He feels like, okay, Prahlad Maharaj is actually in a higher position than me, because he feels love for a father. I don't have a father. I just came from a pillar. Where is my father? I don't have any father. So all the incarnations after Lord Nishingadev, it's actually quite interesting. In all the incarnations he has a father, because that was his desire. He's greedy for love. He's greedy to understand. Okay, so next incarnation, all the other avatars afterwards, he will have a father, so he can be in that rasa. He can relish the rasa of Vatsalya. Do you understand this point?
Yes.
I don't know if you agree, but do you understand this point? Krishna is greedy. He wants to experience love in different ways, in all kinds of different aspects. If God does something, he does it completely. He goes full in. So, and in all these different leelas, and so Krishna is he's experienced love from different angles, and that love and that greediness for love culminates basically in Lord Chaitanya. The form of Lord Chaitanya, which is also eternal, which is again transcendental, is there for him to experience the highest form of love. That verse we read. He says here, may the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core chamber of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has appeared in this age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever bestowed before. So he gives it also out, but he also relishes himself. The most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. This this is the reason why Krishna is greedy. He wants more and more and more and more. He comes to a level of love. When he meets Radharani and he meets her love, he falls short. He actually falls short. For the first time in his existence, he realizes he cannot match that love, and he cannot also not match the love of the gopis. If you read the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam very carefully, this is also described. That he actually says, "You guys are loving me so much. You're following me into the dark forest at night. I'm playing the flute and I'm calling you all, and we all have a little bit of a dance. And you give up everything. You give up everything for me. I cannot repay your love." So God says, "I cannot repay anything to you." Can you imagine? There is a type of love which is basically higher than what God Himself can give. Complete self-surrender. Anyway, that's a long story. So we are also fitting into this whole story somehow, because we also have a relationship with Krishna, and we are invited to discover this relationship with Krishna. And everyone has a different type and a different connection with Krishna. Different rasas, there's different connections possible. But this Ratha Yatra is there to give us this radiant, this amazing, deep understanding of pure love, selfless, pure love, and we can taste it. We can taste it if you're open for this, and if you try to chant and try to connect yourself with Krishna in a pure way, then Krishna will give you the understanding. He made that promise also. He will give us this understanding if we, in the way we open ourselves up to Krishna, He will actually reciprocate. So the Ratha Yatra Festival is actually a cool festival where we can test ourselves, and we can open ourselves to Krishna and see more clearly what is my relationship with Him. And as we just seen when the altar was open, that the deities are very beautiful, that's one thing you can do. If you come to the Ratha Yatra Festival, just look at Krishna and see how beautiful He is. Really look there. Look at all the small little things. Look at the flowers. Look at this turban. Look at this jewelry. And see how Krishna, how beautiful Krishna really is. That is why He also comes in this form of Archamurti, to show His beauty. That's one form. He's in His holy name, but He's also in the Archamurti. So He shows us, He gives us a little bit of a insight into how beautiful He is. And we all get attracted from a different angle, from a different aspect of Krishna. So that's what this all is all about. You're invited to understand and to realize your own beautiful, individual, eternal relationship with Krishna. That's what this movement is all about. That's why Lord Chaitanya comes. That's why Krishna comes. That's why all the Acharyas in the past come, to give us an opportunity to find out who are we in Krishna's world. When we start our journey, we always look like, okay, where's Krishna in my world, isn't it? Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? But later on, you will see, you will ask the question, who am I in Krishna's world? If you have that attraction, because it grows, it's a relationship. You relate to Krishna. So if that relationship grows and grows and grows, as we also experience in this material world, relationships become deeper and more intimate. So the more deeper and intimate your relationship with Krishna becomes, you will ask this question: who am I in this world? Who am I really, Krishna? In your world, how do you see me? And we will become greedy. Because it's Krishna's nature to be greedy. We have that greed also in us. We just have to take that greed. We should not put that greed into the material world. We should put that greed into Krishna's world. We should be greedy to understand who are we. Who am I in your world, Krishna? Show me, please. And Krishna can give you that understanding through different ways. It can be a guru. It can be a guru, like a really elevated soul. He can tell you who you are. It can be the holy name. I think for us, this is the process. Like you chant really nicely, purely. You follow the process, like we said before, And then through that chanting of the holy names, Krishna will reveal himself, because the holy name is Krishna. That's another amazing topic. You can go on for days, for months to explore that. That Krishna is no different from the holy name. And so what Prabhupada said, that when you actually chant the holy name of Krishna, you're actually having association with Krishna. Right there. It's not just a mantra. Sometimes you say, like, oh, let's chant some mantras and this and that. This is all fine and good, but there's a deeper meaning of the mantra. And the deeper meaning of the mantra is that everything is in Krishna's name. His name, his pastimes, his personality, his aspects, his leelas, everything is in the holy name. Now our process, again, is this, is the chanting of the holy name. And through that process of chanting, if you follow that purely, if you follow that nicely, if you follow it with an open heart, Krishna will guide you from within, and he will guide you from without. There's two gurus, Prabhupada said. The guru outside and the guru inside. Because we just read this, we got the blessing from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that please, Lord, place yourself into the heart of every living entity who hears about you. So Krishna is within our heart, so he guides us from within and he guides us from without. I think that's very encouraging, to be honest. You know, Krishna is right there and he's accessible 24/7. He never fails. So anyway, everyone has to figure this one out. Everyone has to see what is my relationship with Krishna, and how do I develop my love for Krishna in different ways. And there's so many different ways to do it. I mean, alone, if you just look at this temple, there's so much service devotees do, which is so nice to see. So why do they do this service? Because there's some attraction to Krishna and they have some relationship. They want to discover what's going on. I mean, just today I was thinking, when I saw these two pujaris coming out, they're both, I don't know if you noticed, but they're both like, I felt very happy. Mataji, you went to the altar today? You've been to the altar today, right? You did some service. So I just saw when you came out, it was like, just looked at Krishna and you were like happy, because I could see there is this engagement, there's this, you engage in the service with Krishna and there's something going on. There's some relationship on that. And so we should discover this. What is my personal relationship with Krishna? That's the goal of life. And that's exciting because that relationship with Krishna is never being broken. That can never be broken. All the other relationships we have will be broken, unfortunately. As we can experience, you must have had someone in your life you lost. Moms, dads, friends, someone went somewhere, they're gone. But Krishna is always there. I heard this the other day, one devotee was explaining that very point, that Krishna is actually always there. Just imagine that you go from one life to another life. The soul transmigrates from one body to another body. In the meantime, when you actually leave your one family and you go to another family, there's not really someone there to love you, because you're not manifested yet. The baby didn't come out as babies, and then when we come out as babies, the mother's there and like, yeah, there's a lot of love there. But what happened before? What happened when we didn't have a manifested body? Who loved us then? Krishna. That relationship with Krishna is eternal. It's eternal, and what is more exciting than this journey to discover what is my relationship with the eternal being? I think that's such a cool thing. It's a serious topic, but it's also very cool because Krishna is also cool. The way you approach Krishna, he will help you. He will come in his own way to you. There's one devotee here, I know, he told me, can I tell this story? When you went to Vrindavan for the first time, you came to Radharaman. Can I say that? No. But there are stories where devotees they go to Krishna, to go to the temple or go somewhere else, and then suddenly Krishna reveals himself in a certain form. Very first time you go somewhere and then wow, Krishna reveals himself in a very personal way. That's what we want. That means we recognize the Krishna. Okay, I don't want to talk too much. Just wanted to just make that point. I think it's an intimate point, it's an intricate point, it's not so easy sometimes to speak about because it's high philosophy, but it's there, we should talk about it, it's part of our process. That's why Lord Chaitanya comes, we should understand. And again, this Ratha Yatra Festival is an opportunity for us to look a little deeper what's going on there. It's not just a festival, there's something going on. Alright, is there any... Yeah, please. That was quick. Can you give me the mic?
Hare Krishna. So it's like we have a lot of seva to do in the temple, and there are like many different kinds of seva. So it's like, as you have told, that we should have this love for Krishna in all the services we are doing for Jagannath or for Krishna. So from my experience, I feel like some sevas or some services are more, loving. It comes more from my heart, and some sevas I do it more monotonously. Is this good, or is it like, I don't know how to explain, but is it okay to do it in that way?
I think so. In the beginning, we do that. In the beginning, we just be practical. We have to be practical. We can't say that immediately we have prema in our hearts, like, oh, Krishna is everywhere. It's like we're on the way. We're sadhakas. We try to approach Krishna in a very scientific way. We got the mercy, and so there is a process of Vaidhi Bhakti. You follow rules and regulations in order to do something in connection with Krishna. But the feeling, that will come. Prabhupada said that many times. The devotees had exactly this question to Prabhupada. They would say, like, Prabhupada, if I bow down, I don't feel anything. I don't want to bow down. Prabhupada said, no, do it. The feeling will come. So, I know what you mean. But this is also a very interesting point, because it's not really about me enjoying it. It's about like, okay, let me please Krishna, because that is, if you understand the dynamics of love there, it's like you get out of your own way in order to make someone else happy. So do it in that understanding. Okay, I'm doing this service because it pleases Krishna. Why does it please Krishna? Because Prabhupada established this movement for us to do some service. So it's an authorized way of approaching Krishna. So let me do it, and let me see how Krishna reacts. Because on the highest platform of love, as you might know from the Shikshastakam, right, there's this one verse where Lord Chaitanya says, you can do whatever you want, Krishna. You might be pleased with me, and you might come forward and give me some mercy, or you might reject me. I don't care, because I am your servant. This is the point of Sanatana Dharma. We are servants. So let's be a servant of Krishna. Let's be a servant of the one who's from everything comes from. So I'm your servant. It's a very high point. I don't care about my own, but I want to serve you. So let's see how Krishna reacts to this. He might.
And also in Ratha Yatra, I feel like Jagannath's energy is more vibrant, more present, and more loving than other days. So is it also that is it like Jagannath gives a lot of energy on that day, or is it like only that he's every day, but I'm feeling it on that day?
Who would like to answer? That's such a beautiful question. So he says, like, when we have Ratha Yatra and Jagannath comes out of the temple, then there's so much love. And so is that a special mercy, or what's going on? That's a sweet question. Thank you. Yeah, there you have it. The reason is, why does Krishna appear? He wants everyone to give the mercy. That's his mission. I want every jiva to come home. Basically, that's what it is. So he gives the mercy. So there's special mercy on that day. That's what I said. Like, if you, especially on Ratha Yatra, just have a look how he looks at that day, how he shows himself to the public. Because here he is all day long, 364 days. He's in the temple room, and he's there very beautifully, and it's intimate devotees worship him. But on the Ratha Yatra day, he goes out one day a year, and then how does Krishna dress himself? It's a very interesting point. If you want to go into this, you can do it. Why not? Because he's encouraging a devotee from within to do certain things. So if some of you devotees are worshiping Krishna nicely, and they make all kinds of arrangements and malas and flower garlands and everything. So Krishna might have shown them what to do it from within. And then just look at him, it's like, so that's how you want to be? Interesting. It becomes a personal thing. So yeah, that's special.
Can I add something? So basically I read one thing. So like when Krishna is in Nilachal, so that's like, the Dwarka. And when he go to, like Jagannath goes to Gundicha temple, so it's like Vrindavan. So since the Krishna is growing from, Dwarka to Vrindavan, so that's why he's very happy. And that's why he's, radiating so much love.
Yes. Thank you. He made it an interesting point that Krishna on that day he's actually going to Vrindavan. He's showing his Vrindavan mood, and of course this is his childhood pastime place where he was happy. Remember when we were children? I think this was the most happy times of our lives, at least for many of us, I guess. So he remembers, oh wow, my childhood pastime. So he's happy to go there as well. He's feeling happiness as well. He's feeling love. He wants to give it to everyone. He's not like, oh, I just want to keep it for myself. Everyone should be happy. Can you imagine that personality who's like this? Like in our conditioned state, we think a lot about ourselves. How can I be happy? And how much money can I get? Is that? We all want always for us. Krishna's like that. It's like, hey, you. Especially when he comes as Lord Chaitanya, because then you have the mood of Radharani as well. And Radharani is very loving and caring and giving.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the class. I have a question like sometimes I hear about Lord Chaitanya being heavy on devotees also, and it like sometimes brings a question in my mind like Radharani is so kind and she's always merciful, always encouraging devotees. And also Krishna, I hardly remember any such pastime where he gets very heavy on devotees, but Lord Chaitanya even like sometimes rejects devotees, maybe even accepts them later on, but he's heavy also many times. So that also like whenever I offer Bhoga, this pastime comes to my mind, or this thought comes to my mind, like like Lord Chaitanya once said that I won't go to anyone's house if he's not chanting 64 rounds. And but anyways offer because I offer through Prabhupada. So these thoughts come to my mind, and how to...
Yeah, I think there's external and internal consideration. On an external consideration, there's certain things which are not cool. Like for sannyasi, for example, it's not good to associate with certain type of people in society. So Lord Chaitanya came as a sannyasi, as in an external manifestation. So on that level, sometimes there's a bit of a rejection going on, right? So like that, who was that Brahmana who went with him? He rejected because he was with the Krishna Das. So he was heavy, actually rejecting him. But that was only because of an external level. It was not okay for his servant to do that. So just to make a point, that's not okay in this world to act like this. It might be like this, but in the core of his heart, he's very merciful. And you see in the Leelas, he's never rejecting anyone forever. He's always keeping them. He always calls them all come very close again. It's very fast. Unless there's an offender, like someone who offends the devotees, he doesn't like that. But even then, he's very merciful. What is with Jaga and Madai, the Leela with Jaga and Madai? They were hitting Lord Nityananda on the head. He was bleeding, and he was actually ready to kill them. And he was really angry. Right? He called the Sudarshan. Then Krishna came out. The Krishna aspect came out, and he wanted to kill them. And then Lord Nityananda said, "Please, this is not what you're supposed to do." And then he remembers. Oh, okay. And he goes into the internal bhava, and then from there he is very merciful.
Also, we discussed about different rasas.
There is Lord Jagannath, there is Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, so we Gita, Krishna says that I'm the best well-wisher, best friend of everyone. And like also he says that I'm the father, mother and grandfather myself of every living entity. Like, so these relations are quite sweet to deal with. But also we saw the verse that Jivana Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. So Das, because we have so much experience of as a servant in this world is not so pleasing, but that material experience of a servant is not so pleasing to us, and it also causes what to say, not so acceptable, although we know, but somewhere it's not still acceptable. So also we say that in the beginning of bhakti we should at least come to the stage of dasa and then other stages, but in the 9 processes of devotional service we see that there's sakyam, dasyam, there's both are mentioned. So how do we practice that and how do we see this?
Okay, well, the question is about being a servant, and on a material level, the servant is not really a nice position, but on the spiritual level it is. I think the way we have to see it is that in Krishna's world, you know, in Krishna's manifestation, we are part and parcel of him. So we are a part of his existence. You know, we are part of his energy. You know, we exist because we are his energy, and as such, we are dust. We are part of the whole. And the part of the whole is always like it serves the whole, like in a car, in an engine, every little screw is doing its part. It's serving the whole thing. So it's in that way maybe you can see it. It's just part of our nature. It's another dharma. We have that service attitude. And how exactly you please Krishna in your own individual way will be revealed in time. Prabhupada makes that point in the introduction of Nectar of Instruction. It says, like, if you, the first thing should be that you actually put yourself in the mode of goodness. You should really try to get into the mode of goodness. And when we are sitting in the mode of goodness, then how to make further progress will be revealed. I always like to say, because it's a revelation. Everyone's different. What's your path? What's your relationship with Krishna will be revealed to you when you're ready. Yes. You should go for this. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Do we have time still?
Yeah, we have a lot of time.
Great.
Can do more, kid.
Still 5:30.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your very, how do you say, illuminating, enlightening words. It was really, very special. And I wrote down a question. So, how can we cultivate the mindset to see Krishna as always accessible, especially in challenging times?
There are challenging times right now.
Maybe.
Yeah, can you see it? I mean, what's that verse? There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. But it says that everything is in Krishna. Krishna is in everything, and everything is in Krishna. So that's so nothing in this world we see and experience is disconnected from Krishna. All our experiences have to do with Krishna. Whatever happens to us has to do with Krishna. He's there. He is the supreme controller. He controls. He's the last sanctioner. Should that happen or should that not happen? Nothing in this world happens by chance. Even wars. You know, even all the atrocities which come with wars and all the craziness of Kali Yuga, it's there because it's sanctioned by the Lord. So if we have problems in our lives, we should have that understanding that Krishna is the supreme controller. He's guiding me from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And in this moment, I have this problem. Means that Krishna gives me that experience. I have to go through that experience. Actually, it's good for me. Like the devotee thinks like this. You know, he thinks like that experience I'm going through is not easy, but you should start meditating on this. That experience I'm going through right now, which might not be pleasant, is there for me to grow and learn. And usually we think on the level of duality, isn't it, good and bad? And in the material world, we always think like, oh, good, I only want the good stuff, isn't it? And something bad comes around, we're like, but this world is dual. There's duality in this world. So there's good days and there's bad days. And probably next point, there's one verse in the Bhagavad Gita, was it 2:14 or something, where she says that winter and summer season come and go. Different experiences of good things happen to us, and also different experiences of bad things happen to us. So we should actually tolerate it. That's what. Straight up. What's the verse?
I
should actually know. What's the verse? 2:14, eh? Did I? Yeah, here. This is also one of the first verses I really relish from the Bhagavad Gita. This is Nara, this is a good one to meditate on. He says, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. So and the next one, they arise from sense perception, O son of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. That's the answer. It happens because it happens. And whatever happens to us in our lives is some or other, it's part of our own realities, our own path, our own destiny we have to go through. And sometimes it's hard, because hardships are not easy. But a devotee is actually thinking all the time, okay, Krishna, if he sees that point, if we don't see it, then we should meditate. If we don't see that Krishna is everywhere, and he's orchestrating all the movements of all the living entities in all time and space, then we should meditate about it. You know, something happens good to us. He says further on, he says like, okay, something really good happens to you, stay calm, stay cool. Don't react and think, yeah, ooh, we have a good time, yeah, life is good. Right? You overdo, you overextend. That's not how to do it. And then also when bad times come, the same thing. You're not going into hardships can become a love affair as well. Because you know you're in this because Krishna wants you to be in there. Okay, thank you, Krishna. It's a high thing, but we should at least understand the principle and then meditate about it. And you will see how suddenly all these things are different.
Thank you. No, okay. Thank you, but how is it? Like, I feel right now I'm, it's a personal thing, but I'm very attached to the drama and also to the passion and to the joy, you know? Like, I'm very joyful and then I'm like, goes like the opposite, which is normal because the life is like this. Like, there's our peaks and there are lows. How can I reach this state of being, you know, like fine and calm with like the best thing in the world and the worst thing, which I don't want to judge right now, but you know, like it's very difficult for me because I really feel kind of attached to passion.
Yeah, there you go. You have your answer. Too much passion there. It's too much passion. How do you get out of passion?
I don't want to get out of passion. I feel sometimes that's the thing because I'm attached. Like I'm attached to it, and it feels something because I feel alive. It makes me feel alive. But I don't. Of course, I don't want to. But it makes me somehow feel alive.
So you play with fire. You play with the fire of the material world. If you're attached to this, okay, it makes me feel alive. Then we have a certain kind of buzz. You know, from the thing, the buzz is there again, and then somehow this may be enjoyable for you or something like that. So, how do you get rid of this? Is actually this whole idea of the class was also just to point to this very point that the chanting of the holy name is the process of the Kali in this Kali Yuga to get rid of all the diseases we have, and that's another kind of attraction to the material energy, and it will subside. It will kind of cool down when you actually apply yourself properly to the chanting of the holy name in your japa, in your own personal japa, and in the congregation chanting of the holy name. That's, I would say, that's our process, isn't it?
Thank you.
Everyone? Hare Krishna. This is
Hare Krishna.
and thank you for your such an easy and clear way of making a lecture and presentation. My questions, you told us about to think about the personal relationship with Krishna, and there's this question like, how do we understand, what we feel? Is it the right thing because we are falling in illusion, and all these mistakes is still our part? Or should we ask Guru, and then like this is the real? Or should we go for another part? What Krishna, what you would like, who I should be for you, like not from our part, from egoistical part, what I want to be, like how would you say?
Interesting. Well, one thing I really liked, there was one sadhu in Vrindavan. He was saying like, you should discover this for yourself a little bit. You should discover what are you attracted. When you look at Krishna, when you hear Leelas, for example, of Krishna, if you hear Krishna book, or you read Bhagavatam, what attracts you to Krishna? What is it like? So that indicates a little bit your own nature, right? So I'm attracted. I just like when Krishna stands there in his three-band form and he plays the flute and he looks at Radharani. That might be something you might relish in your heart, like, oh, whenever I see Radha and Krishna, I feel like, wow, And then the other person is maybe like, oh, I see Lord Jagannath, and I feel like something. Really, it's your own nature. Like it will come through if you focus yourself, if you apply yourself into really dissecting what is actually going on with you. Why are you coming to the temple? Why are you sitting there? Or when you read something, you read Bhagavad Gita, or you speak with devotees, what do you feel most attractive to Krishna? So that's something you could follow on your own, because it seems to be your nature to follow that. So that's one thing. But you also mentioned that obviously you ask the Guru if you have something. But I think one thing I want to stress is, I think this is really important. We have to, when we chant the holy name, individually, when we do the japa, like I said before, we're actually having association with Krishna, straight there. So in that moment, you open yourself up. You close your eyes and you chant your holy name, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What did Prabhupada say? What should we do when we chant the holy name? Anyone knows?
Sit and listen.
Yeah, that's all we need to do. We just need to sit down, chant japa, and all we need to do is to bring the mind into this present moment. This Prabhu was talking about presence today. It's nice. This present moment is all I need to do. There's no past. There's no future. There's whatever is happening now in the outside world it's out. I'm locked it out. I'm locking into the holy name, and in that there it is. There, right there, your relationship with Krishna is there, and see what happens. See what happens if you apply that. That's the process, chanting of the holy name. So I think this is something sometimes we miss. I mean, at least I have to say for myself, I miss it for years, because chanting can sometimes be very. It can feel like a drag. If you're not locking in your mind, it's a drag. At least it was for me. You chant on you chant peace on hours on end, and you don't feel anything, and your mind is somewhere else, and you just think, oh. But when you really start to apply this one simple instruction of Prabhupada, that he said, this is the process. Just chant and hear the very same sound. Chant and hear the very same sound. That's all you need to do in your japa. It's actually very easy. And then if you do it, check it out. If you do it, Krishna will, he will show you. He will show you something, right? If he wants to manifest himself to you, he will. So that's your personal approach. I think that's what we should do, because no one else really can tell you who you are. I mean, if that person's maybe elevated and really on a transcendental platform, he might be able to tell you, okay, this is your transcendental form. But to meet someone like this, I don't know, it's maybe not so easy. But you can meet Krishna every day. Try it. Lock your mind. Lock everyone in this room who is chanting japa. Lock your mind in.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. Yes. So we should trust. We should trust what's going on.
Absolutely.
Not to go in doubt.
Like I said before, there's an internal guru and there's an external guru. So speak to the internal guru. Not even the internal guru. When you actually chant, you are having association with Krishna as this Shakti Avesh form, as the holy name. If there's the super soul, there's Krishna in your heart, but there's also the holy name. When you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, you can't even think about when you chant this way, you can think, oh wow, this very same sound was chanted by Lord Prabhupada, was chanted by Lord Chaitanya, by all the Vaishnavas. They chant this very name. You know, there's so much potency in this holy name. This is the key, this relationship with Krishna, and everything comes from there. Everything will grow from there.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, sir.
Hare Krishna. Oh,
Exactly, this microphone.
it's on? No, it's not on. Seems like. Hare Krishna. So I have a very dumb question. Can I ask it, please? So why isn't Jagannath coming out every day if he's so merciful?
He does actually different forms. Like it is said that actually the deity worship, right?
Again.
It is said that the worship in the temple is helpful for sadhakas to grow their own consciousness. But if you really are on a higher platform, you will see Krishna everywhere. If you're on a high platform, you go out into the street, you will see Jagannath everywhere. He is there. You're just not seeing him. That's a problem. You know? Like in the beginning of the movement, when Prabhupada was in Mayapur, right? He was saying like, okay, we have to build a temple, a big temple, because why? Why do we need to build this big temple here? So we can engage your natures, your lower natures of passion and ignorance and so on, in the service of Krishna, and through that service you will get purified. But actually, we could just sit down here and chant. That's all we want to do. So Jagannath is everywhere. He is everywhere. And Radharani sees that's a good point. Radharani sees it. She goes out, she sees Krishna everywhere. She just sees a tree somewhere. Oh, the Krishna stands over there. Right? She's on that platform of love. So he is there, we don't see him.
But Jagannath hasn't been so merciful to jivas who already see him everywhere. Like it's the real big mercy is that he's coming out to the souls who don't see him everywhere.
He's doing that once a year. He gives the mercy. It's a special thing as well. But then at the same time, you could make the argument: how many devotees go out every day on behalf of Lord Jagannath? Isn't it? And they go to the streets and say, "Hey, how are you? I have a book here. It's about Krishna. Do you want to have a read? It's about yoga, incarnation, reincarnation." And so this is a manifestation of the Lord as well. The Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is not different from Krishna. Krishna is not different from Jagannath. So there he is in a different form. He's extending himself all the time. And we should see him everywhere. He is everywhere. In every tree, in every leaf, when we go out, he is everywhere. And if you really elevate it, you will actually see. So you have love. Love in the heart. Oh. Why is Jagannath coming out? What do you say? Why is Jagannath coming out every day? Yes.
Good explanation.
No, say you say something nice. I feel like he's my senior. You know, you should say he's like. Really? Okay, so I hope that was inspiring, and thank you for being here, and thank you for coming and listening and doing kirtan and associating a little bit more with everyone here, and see you next time. And maybe you want to say something, Karuna?